Okay, I think we're all set up here, and about to get started. So this may be the most highly speculative panel at all of OMMA Global, maybe. It's what if Facebook launches an online ad network, although I think that this is a highly anticipated turn of events if it happens. But anyway, for those of you who don't know me, who haven't been in the room before, I'm Kathy Taylor. I'm the social media insider, allegedly, of MediaPost. So I sometimes wonder how shaky my knowledge is. You guys can tell me. So we're going to get started here with just everybody doing a very brief intro. I can already tell that Adam's tag is wrong, but anyway, we'll get started. It says Walgreens, but yeah. So you each get 30 seconds to introduce yourself.
Well, I want to make sure we've got time for the questions. So I'm Adam Kinnick. I run digital and social across the globe at Campbell Soup.
Hi, I'm Calvin Louie. I am the President and Chief Strategy Officer for Unified. Unlike Campbell Soup, who everyone knows, maybe some of you don't know what Unified is. I'll give you the quick 10-second version. Unified, we've built a cloud-based enterprise marketing technology called the Social Operating Platform, or SOP for short. SOP enables brands and agencies to, one, instantly inject social amplification to all advertising campaigns, offline and online. Two, holistically measure all earned media and social ROI generated by paid and owned marketing investments. And three, seamlessly activate social ad campaigns across Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, StumbleUpon, Pinterest, YouTube, Foursquare, all from one integrated dashboard. So essentially, we add social to every advertising and give you a good measure of downstream effects, so you get a true sense of ROI, including social word of mouth.
Okay, that was 31 seconds. So
I apologize.
Usually goes faster. Yeah, I'll try to do as quickly as I can. Don Mathis, CEO and co-founder of Kinetic Social, and we are a company that's focused on trying to marry big data into social media marketing. Fundamental thesis is that we can combine advertising across multiple social platforms and then across mobile and display advertising as well with a holistic data set and a integrated campaign. So one particular campaign across silos, across channels, can operate seamlessly, ideally, across the various social platforms and outside of social as well.
Hi, I'm Jason Michael, the CEO of Pentagraph. We're like the Comscore Nielsen for content marketing, competitive intelligence. We have probably one of the largest interest graphs for companies that are doing like Facebook ad buys and things like that, sell that data, as well as marketers are drowning in information. They're looking for what's relevant, and so we have a whole environment that allows them to develop these content marketing calendars that allows them to answer what you want.
I'm Michael Sissons. I'm the CEO of SynCaps. We are the geeks on Madison Avenue. We are completely office-based, and we focus on helping really big companies drive their reach, frequency, and impact across social channels.
Okay, thanks, guys. And good deep glasses there at the end of the row, by the way. So yes. If you've been following Facebook, you know that they've done two things lately, or relatively recently, that sort of hint at this online ad network. Maybe they've done more. I don't know, but certainly there are ads on Zynga.com now that would be kind of one baby step towards this. Then last week they announced doing kind of a little mobile ad network test thingy with Apple and Android, I guess. So we're seeing little signs. However, let's just get the question out of the way. Like, is this a definite or is it a maybe? Do you think they're going to go for it, or a year from now will we just look at the video of this panel and laugh at ourselves?
Well, just before this panel, they launched it, but then they took it down 5 minutes later, and it may actually launch again in another half hour. But they may change the name of the platform, and then they may remarket it to agencies, and then they may not. Then they may bring it all in-house, and they may give it to Apple, and then they may not. So there actually is an ad network, but it only exists for 10 minutes, and they rebranded it, and they took it down. Now they're going to reproductize it, and they're going to push it back to the street.
So that's a yes, right? Yes. Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
I think there most certainly are. The question I have audience here is how many of you guys click on ads? That's pretty good.
How many of you click on your competitors' ads?
Oh, man.
And only your competitors' ads.
Well, my point I'm trying to make is that, I think Facebook is being forced to. Has anyone heard about the announcement that they did with Datalogics?
Yeah, what was that? That was yesterday, and I
No, that was quick. Yeah, recently. You know what Datalogics does. There's most certainly they're going to enter the ad network, and I think that the real fundamental question is it going to be effective? Are they supporting and bolstering a market which has a downward trend right now?
Yeah. Okay. So, Calvin, you get.
So without violating any safe harbor disclaimers of any other companies, I think the wind is definitely pushing in that direction. Anything that's a data-driven advertising vehicle, people are going to want to try it and use it. And when you take a look at something like a Facebook that has nearly 1 billion users around the world, that has perhaps arguably the richest self-proclaimed data set of consumers out there, it's hard to believe that they will not leverage that capability to interject a new marketing vehicle for actually to tap into that. I think the question that we all are wondering is, how will it manifest itself, and when will it manifest itself, and how will they do it without scaring the bejesus out of consumers and the social contract they have with the consumers of why they gave you the data in the first place.
And if I get to chip in, so I'm probably in the definite camp, but I think the key thing for Facebook is to, exactly as Calvin said, not violate that social contract that they have. To a certain extent, we think of social, and I think a lot of people are beginning to think of social almost as a separate paradigm, a permission marketing paradigm, but it's permission marketing with certain limits. And the consumers are providing a lot of personally identifiable information. They won't be comfortable, I think, to have their PII, and we all remember the Beacon fiasco a few years ago with Facebook. I don't think they're going to be comfortable just licensing out their PII to be used across the open internet. And so I think there's going to be a tension there, and I think they're going to have to move very, very carefully as they head down this path.
Okay, and Michael, you get to go last.
I think the real question is going to be how. I think I don't come from the display side or from an ad network. I think I come from, I don't even know where I come from. Really depends.
Canada.
Really depends. I come from Canada in the summer, and I think the real question is how. Don't go in the winter. I think the real question is, what are they going to do that's different, and how are they going to sell it? And if I look at, to the PII variable for me, it's thinking about, yesterday's announcement with Brad and Nestle talking about how they're tracking down to 20 conversions, about reach and frequency. I think how you start to think about managing reach and frequency for consumers across the broader web with the consumer profile being the center and managing that reach and frequency. I think they've got some really interesting opportunities for that to kind of redefine what is the core of the network, what is the core value prop, but also what type of content ultimately becomes distributed across it. And I think that tends to be where I'm thinking they're going and where some of the indications kind of excites me.
So,
as a Canadian.
So and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but the Datalogics thing that came out yesterday, if I remember, at least the headline from Reuters was that clicks are not important and all that kind of thing, which is really kind of interesting to talk about in the context of a Facebook ad network, since we tend to be so click focused, and they're sort of doing two things at once almost. So who else wants to talk about the how? The how question. Okay, Jason, then Calvin.
Who knew about the fact that Facebook has opened up the fact that you can upload your email or phone number database? You know about that? Yeah, so that's sort of violates.
Well, you mean as an
It's in your
advertiser?
face. Basically, no one's opted in for that. So basically, they can drop an ad, and God only knows when they launch an ad network, so they can take a whole, data source from, very large data source from all the partners. That's game on. So, where's the PII in that?
So just for those of you who aren't familiar, but just before it's like, oh my God, I'm being taken over. What Facebook allows you to do now is take, if you've got an existing CRM database,
you as a company,
you as a
not
company,
you as an individual.
if you have like all your friends and you want to target ads to them, now, if you have an existing database of SMS or email addresses, you can provide that list to Facebook and then do basically blind targeting to users within those existing. They won't give you that specific information, and they haven't opened it up, but you can do targeting based on users' email addresses and SMS.
And I would add to that is if you want to think about a correlation to traditional marketing, it is just a simple way for you to do customer segmentation targeting, from loyalty members to new prospects to upsell, cross-sell opportunities at large volumes of targeted people, not down to PII specific individuals. So certainly Chase is bringing up a concern, but they have not gone to that point, and I don't think they will to the point where it's going to be down to the individual.
I don't agree with that, because through their tool, you can choose the age, demographics, and who cares about the individual name. I mean, at that point, you're able to do a great deal of segmentation on those people. They already know inside of their own CRM who those people are. So, we're looking through a thin veil of silk. I mean, give me a break. I mean, the bottom line is that those individuals never opted in for that, and they're going to open that completely up to the ad networks. I think the biggest question is the publishers, which are having a CPM downward pressure right now. Okay, so Facebook launches their ad network. Where are they going to drop their ads? Well, it's like AdSense, right? Who uses AdSense here? You want to use AdSense? Are you making money from it? Like how much?
Max can't disclose that.
Yeah, right.
So Chase, let me ask you a question. Have you ever gotten a credit card offer in the mailbox?
I've never opened.
Have you gotten one?
Yes.
Have you ever gotten a refi offer that has your exact mortgage amount on it in the mail?
No.
Oh.
Don't forget to use your mic. He said no a lot.
No, this is just like direct mail. This is traditional targeting that people have been doing for years and years and years in direct marketing. Now, is it a little bit more in your face when it's digital? Yes, because a lot of people are talking about it. But when you actually look at the practices of direct mail for credit card, mortgages, even retailers. I mean, when you talk about Datalogics, that started off as a mail company doing catalogs.
It's interesting though. We travel ballooned it with 3 of our clients, all major agencies, and first they didn't understand it. They hadn't heard about it, and once we explained what it was, they had a very adverse reaction. So I think to Calvin's point, at some point this is no different than the practices of direct mail that have been going on for 30, 40 years. Having said that, there's a creep factor associated with, especially with Facebook. And I think when people start seeing ads that are customized on the basis of the fact that they, gave their email address or SMS text information to target at point of sale, and all of a sudden it's showing up on Facebook, I think there is a little bit of concern. And again, you're targeting a big segment, and it's just another segment within the Facebook ecosystem target. So it's probably not as creepy as some people are going to think it is, but at least with our advertiser base so far, there's been a little bit of pushback for it.
So aren't you giving the consumer, I think, maybe just a wee bit too much credit? I mean, the backlash on Beacon didn't come from consumers. It came from agencies and the FTC after it was raised by the agencies. All the targeting that happens on Facebook right now, you just blow right by them, right? You ignore them. The retargeting that you see that happens in banner ads that are customized to your geolocation or something you last clicked on, I've yet to see 10% of the billion number of people that are part of Facebook go down to Washington and say, you guys got to fix this. Clearly, Facebook's doing something wrong. We do that, right? Because that's what we like to do. The media does it because it makes for a great story. But I get to see the actual consumer go ahead and do it. And when I think about that, that's the scary part. Like, what scares me about Facebook more than anything is we're not their customer anymore, nor are we their consumer. Wall Street's the customer. And the minute Wall Street's the customer, you get into a situation where you have to then try things out that you may not normally do because you have to hit a weekly, a monthly, and a quarterly stock price number. That's the real issue that I kind of, you bring to the table on it. I'm less concerned about the how as a consumer, because I don't think the majority of consumers even have any concept, unfortunately, of how that works. And like to your point about the mortgage matching, it's been going on for 50, 60 years. Like, this is nothing new.
Let me see.
It's in the news now consumers are starting, a light bulb's going on, like, oh, this is what they do.
And like I said, I'm still waiting for the 100 million people to walk into Washington and demand that they see someone do something about it. Even you think about like even the issue with the cell phone tracking that was going on with was it Call ID or Cell ID, the folks at Samsung and Google were using, and they tracked every movement and every call and everything. That came because a hacker found out with it. Mashable ran with an article. TechCrunch picked it up. It wasn't any of us in the room, any of the average consumer doing it. So unless we as an industry want to hold Facebook accountable for it, there's no reason for them to change the practice on the how implementation that we were just discussing. Because the average consumer, unfortunately, they're going to have blindness to the ad on Facebook, or not even know what the retargeting is.
And then you throw on top of
Wait,
that.
and Michael wants to. Michael's been wait. Can I interrupt you, Calvin? And then
I just think we're talking about an issue that's so much larger than Facebook. You know, we're talking about people changing privacy in the world. For example, you know, I always call my wife when I'm 5 minutes away from home, and sometimes I'm running late. And it used to work that I could call her when I was like 10 minutes away and do the whole I got caught in traffic game, until she discovered that Find My Phone app on iPhone. Yeah, she follows me in the damn maps in the office. So, you know, I'm much more concerned about that than I am about Facebook being able to retarget an ad to me.
what are you doing, Michael? Oh, sorry.
She thinks it's funny. It's not funny.
That's another panel, Michael. Okay, Calvin, you're. It is fascinating.
So I was going to follow up on a lot of points that Adam made. If you recall, way back in the day when DoubleClick bought Abacus, there was a huge uproar on this PII to cookie type matching capability. Again, it was not consumers; it was industry. I think it was maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I think it was a Wall Street Journal that did a deep dive into the privacy policy of like Citibank and Chase Manhattan, and it was really scary. Again, nobody did anything about it from a consumer perspective. And then when you start talking about the how, well, banner ads, especially in the social ecosystem, are going more and more to a native monetization unit that is in the stream, in your content stream. And so for those of you that saw Aubrey speak prior to this, it was really about content and branded content and things like that. And the world's going to start blending more and more in this type of ecosystem, especially when people are more on their mobile phone, and there is no right rail. There is no floating banner ad. It's actually in stream. I think most consumers won't even realize that's an ad.
Yeah, I mean, that could be why the click rates are high. But anyway, yes. Chase?
I have a poll for the audience. Who thinks that sponsored stories are more effective means of interacting with your consumers? How many?
Why?
We never had sponsored stories before, so that's a new product. So we use that regularly. It's been very effective. Why do you think it's effective?
Social endorsement.
It's forcing you to create great content.
Or you have to read it because it's in your newsfeed.
And it's being put in your newsfeed.
Well, there in the traditional magazine world, there's things called editorials that took like 3 pages in the middle of a print. I mean, in the middle of a book. That was forced in you, and very few people realized it was an editorial. Because it looked like a column.
It's a different font.
Yeah, exactly. With a slightly different hue of green in the back.
So is it working because it's a different ad format that's more engaging, or is it working because it's targeted?
No, I think it's because both the targeting is great, but the fact that it's forcing us and I think everyone else that to create really compelling. And the fact is, if you don't get shares with that, you really can't create reach. So you have to get shares. So it really is forcing you to be better with your content. But I think pulling an ad, display ad unit out, is that going to help improve the creation of content? I mean, that's really the challenge. And the question is Facebook going to support the type of rich media that we're seeing, like a Flight.com create? Are they allowed? Are they going to allow those units to be distributed as well? I think it's a big question.
So I think
Yeah. Okay, Adam.
I think so long as Facebook has complete control over the entering algorithm, they can make us do whatever we want to do. Right? Like if they decide to say that we're going to down signal ads to 2% as opposed to the 16% of posted content that comes from brand pages.
They already did it.
Right.
It happened like
Now all of a sudden you're forced.
yesterday or something. Everybody's seeing the drop and reach
So
overnight.
as long as they can continue to adjust the algorithm which governs the content you see as a consumer coming from an advertiser, you're always going to pay for it so long as Facebook has the reach it does in a traditional media plan to then put the money into a sponsored story or equivalent product to ensure your message, quote unquote, is seen. And you're not going to see a pivot point happen to that until brands catch a little bit of religion and understand what you're saying, which is you're now in the content world. You're not in the ad world.
Who's using promoted posts? Anyone done that? Buy now, 30 bucks. Is it working?
It's driving more engagement, but to Matt's point, it's because Facebook's changed the way it posts.
I'm sorry, couldn't amplify that. We don't have
Facebook
an
has
extra mic
changed
here.
the rules of the game.
Thank you. Yes. Oh, they have? Okay.
I was-
Yeah. No.
I was summarizing.
So, suppose that all of these privacy concerns, to get back to that, they're all resolved. Okay, it's perfect. Everything, they're going forward. They're moving on. Is this inventory necessarily better than other inventory?
I mean,
Or more expensive, I guess, is really partly the question.
it gets back to, I think what some people have been saying is that it's not exactly an ad, right? It's content. You're trying to engage with content. It's blurred the lines a little bit to the extent that it leads to greater engagement. Then yeah, it's better inventory. I mean, banners are typically not great inventory, and to the extent that you can actually engage and build a relationship on a brand basis, that's pretty compelling.
There are sort of two things I think about with that question. The first is I remember when iAd launched, it was $1 million minimum to get into the platform. And what's it selling for today? 10,000? And that's a joke, not 10,000. It could cut the cost.
You could. It was a step function.
Right, it was like 500,000, and then it was 200,000. And so they thought, well, hey, we have this walled garden.
Yeah.
And, by the way, we're in charge of the creative license on creating the content that goes in there, which means the content will be better, including performance numbers will be there. If the performance numbers were truly there, you'd still be charging $1 million for the iAd unit. You would be charging a quarter million. That's the first part. The second thing I think of, kind of with respect to your question of, the better quality, if you ask Facebook's billion users and said, rather than actually show you ads, I'll charge you $10 a year to access your Facebook account.
I've always wondered about that.
How many would raise their hands and say, for $10 to do all this stuff and never see an ad? Like you. Let's just say it's half of the people who did it, right? 500 million. 500 million times factor of 10. I think Facebook delivers on Wall Street's projections in like Q2. So when you think about the quality of the ad unit,
And the numbers would go up, the expectations would increase.
you got it. So like kind of where I'm going with it is, when it comes to the quality question, the question I feel like someone inside of Facebook, or anyone should be asking is, if Facebook went to a opt-out of ad unit model, and they went into a subscription model, so to speak, what would we do as a brand? And that's where I think about it as a brand marketer, how I think about the quality or the level of quality. Because Facebook will change the platform, they change it all the time. And if that's an option, do you want to put all your eggs into the Facebook basket? And I think that's part of the reason we see this kind of split from marketers. We love the idea that Facebook's got reach, but can we really trust Facebook?
Who here has a LinkedIn premium account?
So that's a pretty good show.
Who's pissed off they can't see who's looking at their profile anymore because everyone's learning about the privacy settings? That's been working against us.
But I mean, not that this is all a Wall Street play, and I wish I had the numbers, but when you look at obviously Wall Street seems to believe a lot more in LinkedIn right now. They have that lovely premium thing. I really don't see ads on it much and all that. I mean, but I don't know if this is like just an ancillary argument. I really don't think. I've wondered at times if it would be smart for Facebook to charge users potentially, but I don't think they're going to do that anytime in the next 5 years.
Well, Facebook, Sheryl Sandberg's, I think it was yesterday, she announced, or they gave an alluding to the fact that they were going to have premium services. So that's a big bag of God only knows what. But,
Okay, I missed that. I admit. No, go on.
But yeah, I mean, one of them was she alluded to some analytics, but so they're going for the bigger enterprises to make bigger dollars. So obviously they're going to be catering to the enterprises to make sell premium services. So to me, it starts to have a hint that they're going to start if you're a Facebook user and you're willing to clock down some money to have unimpeded feed, it could be worth a lot.
Could be, but just remember, Wall Street doesn't think too highly of subscription models, especially when there's only X amount of people in the world and they're already at 170.
Well, yeah, I mean, once you have that revenue stream, you just sort of have it, and there's nothing very dramatic except increasing the price, you know.
There's 1 billion people on Facebook, right? And of that, how many are active?
15 of them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the other thing, right? There aren't as many people active, I think we all know that, as Facebook claims. And there's also an adoption rate, and then there's, a lot of people fall off. I'm not downplaying it as an important marketing vehicle, but I think the numbers can be, it's probably not actually built.
So I have a question to the panel.
Yeah, but it seems like fast questions. Now it's your turn. Okay.
So I want to know is, so beyond mobile, if Facebook, we know they're going to launch an ad network, where are they going to put these ads? Is it going to show up on publisher pages? Publisher networks?
Why wouldn't it? Well, anyway, you guys.
I think the interesting thing would be they already have this on some level with a lot of retail. The minute they introduced Facebook Connect 6 or 7 years ago, they paved the way for the most perfect ad network, right? Because basically,
I saw that when it first happened.
So, if all you limited to were publishers and providers who provided a link, using the Facebook Connect platform, that puts Facebook in control of all the data.
No, they completely dismayed overnight, which they had no idea. They let the fox in the hen house with the publishers. They're potentially screwed.
So when I think about your point, where it's going to go, I think what you'll see is something along the lines of you start with your Facebook Connect audience first. The media agencies get thrilled and excited about this. Last week, by even choosing one platform, you reach all these other platforms, leveraging the open graph, making theory. And after a publisher who's not in on that wall, you have to somehow get into that wall because you're just being cut out of revenue that's coming from the media plans coming down. They have the kind of, if you will, the built-in Trojan horse, right? I mean, now that Apple's added it into the iOS platform, they're into the other walled garden pool. I mean, like I said, I think when you asked the question earlier, what happened, it's a yes, it is a question I think of how, but they certainly have all the little pieces together. So all of a sudden, under the cover of darkness, just launch this thing at scale.
Any other comments on that one? So I was going to go back to something that Adam was sort of talking about before, and the kind of the concern that they'll let the horse out of the barn on the Facebook ad network or anything else kind of before. I'm sorry, I'm going to use this pun, of course, but that was not, I was sort of, but that the pressure that they're feeling to kind of wow their investors and the media and all that is going to make them do some things more quickly that they normally wouldn't have done. Come out with too many products, just basically throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. I mean, do you think that's a real danger, or do you see them still being pretty cautious?
I don't think they're going to launch a new mapping system anytime soon.
Right. No, we've all learned that. No.
If you're asking on the ad product side, they're already doing it. There's no question that if you have ever dealt with what is a Facebook ad product, I think to Adam's point at the very beginning, they've changed names, they've rolled out things, they've pulled things back. Remember what was called Reach Generator? Did that go away? Yeah, it did. So the reality is, if you actually talk to some of the folks that are within Facebook's world that work for Facebook and ask them, what do you sell? It's a hard question to answer succinctly because there's new products coming in and out all the time, and so how fast it pushes out is not just a function of publisher adoption, consumer adoption, but also how fast can they sell and how quickly can customers absorb the message in a very easy way that they can activate budget towards it. And right now, I think there's enough confusion that it's not obvious that, yes, I can activate immediately. Even when we're talking about the CRM matching product, people have a lot of questions. How does it work? What are the privacy settings? What do I do if someone moves from one group to another? Do I turn it off here and turn it on there? So it's not immediately obvious how do you make everything work right away. So there is going to be some time for it to gestate.
And the pace of those products have expanded pretty substantially since the IPO.
Yeah, I was going to ask that, but yeah, Michael, you.
How many of you got, so I started on Facebook back in 2006 with the original sponsored stories that were the precursor to the second generation sponsored stories. One of the things that I found, at the end of the day, Facebook is increasingly selling reach, frequency, and impact that becomes increasingly clear. As the products evolve, the targeting evolves, the strategy evolves to some degree, but the products that they're launching and where they appear, given you can optimize to kind of performance-driven metrics or reach and frequency-driven metrics, do they really matter? Like, does it matter that you have product A versus product B, or does it matter that, in terms of thinking as a brand, that you're going to use whatever combination is available at the time and try to drive the best kind of mechanics for your objective humanly possible?
I think, at least for me, having been in this space now for 16 years, I hear exactly what you're saying. But think about your organization, all of you in your room. What percentage of the people in your own company can keep up with that base and understand all the dynamics of what you just outlined, and then match up the number of clients you have and or business units?
That's why we have a lot of clients, because that exact problem exists to find. Yes.
And that therein lies kind of the challenge, right? That the frequency of product changes in and of itself, I think, is a good thing, right? Because you're constantly innovating, you're coming up with something that in theory works. Getting everyone else to pay attention to it, to understand it, how to position it, how to change it. You're mid-campaign, you got to explain to a brand director, this thing doesn't exist anymore, we're moving to this thing. And as you think about how plans are put together, 3-year strat plans, annual fiscal plans, when you have that much inconsistency, it becomes very, very, very challenging to put Facebook at the top of trusted value partner. Trusted value partner doesn't constantly keep changing the rules on things. That's like a game you do at a frat party. That's not a partner.
Sometimes the partner has to change.
I think that so long as if Facebook continues to do that, you'll see people continue to flock to LinkedIn, to Twitter, and to everyone else. There's a reason that Twitter's ad platform and ad product is so digestible, and they've been able to scale it in the way they've been able to do it, and bring on partners like Amex for custom one-off platforms. There's no way Facebook could possibly pull that off with the inconsistency in there. And it becomes very tough as a brand marketer to say, you don't even own your like data. But I have 10, think about Red Bull, 20 million likes. They don't own any of that. Right? You work with Buddy Media, hypothetically, and then Facebook says, we're going to cut off access, Buddy Media, to all third parties that aren't officially signed on by the Facebook, council, whatever it ends up being. Right? I mean, at any point in time, they can build the wall higher. They can lower the wall. Again, that's not a trusted partner. That's not someone you say, take all my money. You got my back, right?
So you're nervous when you wake up in the morning and look at your smartphone for the first time and go through the emails and see what's happened while you were sleeping?
I pay more attention to the brand at a macro level than I do Facebook, and I've been on record many, many times as saying the biggest social network is not always the right social network for the platform. It becomes very difficult for anyone to be able to justify why you wouldn't be on Facebook given their scale. And that's why I said, if you think about the folks you have in your own organization, what percentage of them understand those dynamics with the specificity needed to actually have that conversation and get a CFO. Now, I guarantee it's less than 1%.
Wow. Well, that almost indicates that they should kind of slow down a bit. Take it easy. No, but be more measured about how they roll things out.
I think you're making a real good point on the fact around Twitter, because who has the LinkedIn? I'm not to brag LinkedIn, but have you seen the mobile aspect of LinkedIn, especially with the? I mean, the reality, you don't like it? God, it's great.
Well, I just find it crashes all the time. That's my problem. But anyway.
Well, okay. The bottom line is that feeds are being ubiquitous. I mean, it's almost hard to tell between one platform versus another on how you're consuming and integrating with content. The fact that LinkedIn chopped off Twitter is an indication of the fact that they're gaining momentum. So it may not be very long before individuals start switching to other networks to get that same beat fix. therefore then, what is the effectiveness of the ads and all the other delivery mechanisms that Facebook is creating? And it could happen very quickly.
Now, if we have questions from the audience, raise your hand and I'll come down and make sure that you guys have questions. No, I'll make sure that you have to run with my mic and get them. So one question I'd asked earlier, and I'd like to just pick it up again, partly because I think Don answered the question from more of a content perspective than like a CPM perspective. Is does this data become more valuable because of its targeting, as opposed to hopefully advertisers will learn how to create engaging content? I'm a little skeptical, frankly, because they've had theoretically they should have been doing this for their whole existence. But does this content does this network become more valuable because of Facebook's data, or is it just another flavor in the targeting mix?
I mean, theoretically, it should be, right? And I mean, again, you've got this. It's always interesting from going back to the privacy issues. You've got a lot of noise in Washington around privacy violations. A lot of advocates that are very focused on that. And if you look at the open graph or the open world, they're focused on a cookie, which is a very limited piece of information. In the meantime, in the social universe, you have, you tell Facebook who you are, what you did last night, who you did it with, where you're going, and what you like, and so forth. That data is very compelling. If you could actually do something like Facebook Connect, you could do it in a way where Facebook was a repository of the data and provided the targeting segments in effect the same way that they do now within the Facebook ecosystem. That becomes much more compelling. It's much more of a sort of social graph to the targeting as opposed to, or an interest graph to the targeting as opposed to just a pure segment.
Yeah, Michael?
I think Facebook has the potential to make it a lot easier. Because I think, I don't necessarily think any marketers lack targeting options today. I think that, if you sit on panels like this, you go home and just kind of wonder what the hell, if you digest it all day and heard SAS this, connected to data store this, which is synced with these interest graph targets, and who cares? And at the end of the day, I think that Facebook has the ability to make kind of macro level web targeting and target management significantly easier in a world where mapping and management of customer information in most verticals and categories tends to be all over the place. And to the Campbell's example where, we're talking about Facebook being hard to operationalize, you start talking about kind of big data and measurement, you're handling multi-level targeting and all kinds of things across the whole ecosystem, your fall-off rate's going to hit really quickly. So I think Facebook can make it easy and help roll out the network at scale at an easier entry point than others.
What do you mean by fall-off rate?
I mean the fall-off rate where if you start getting really complicated about targeting options across the broader network, and most brand marketers tend to, can get it at kind of a PowerPoint level. But when you say, okay, how are we going to operationalize this? How are we going to make this happen in 50 countries or across 20 brands? It becomes pretty complicated pretty quickly.
I think the biggest mistake that I think ultimately ends up happening, and it's happened since the dawn of all advertising. Advertising doesn't fix a core product problem. Doesn't fix a core customer experience problem. Doesn't fix a core customer service problem, right? There's a reason. I love this. Like when you hear Samsung talk about how they're the largest social footprint on the web. Well, sure, because Apple doesn't do anything in social, right? I mean, like if you say you're the number one player when the real number one player isn't doing anything. So I think when the network basically eventually launches, you'll see a flock of advertisers who they go, finally, my holy grail fix. It doesn't fix a bad problem. It doesn't fix a bad brand. It doesn't fix a bad marketing or customer experience. And I sort of look at the brands that really have a good soul to the brand that used to be talked about in the 80s, brands who have souls. And those brands continue to persevere with or without Facebook's ad platform products or any other kind of retargeting product. I agree with you, there's far too many of them. I think if we put more effort and impact on fixing customer experience, actual real product development, we wouldn't get ourselves also turned around wondering what will happen when Facebook does X.
Do we have questions, or you want to talk, Michael?
No, I don't have any serious comments at this point.
I'm
getting more sarcastic as we go, so I should stop talking at this point.
Yeah. Starting from a point of high sarcasm, and No, I just want to make sure there are questions out there. So we solved this one. Is it so complicated that nobody knows what to ask, or is it just that it's so highly speculative that asking a question is sort of like neither here nor there? Oh, we have one. Oh, thanks. You're right. Your hand is right in the spotlight. Okay.
So,
Yeah, I'm going to give you the mic.
So a bunch of us were actually talking about this yesterday in terms of the types of ad formats that Facebook has been putting up there so far. And a lot of us in the advertising industry have been brought out to their offices to talk about innovation opportunities and cool new creative opportunities, but we end up with largely the same amount of, or the same types of inventory that we've seen the last couple of years, with some exceptions. Creatively, there's not a lot of territory. So I guess my question to the panel is, if this network goes wide, what's the prospects on different, in your minds, what's the prospects on different types of creative, or are there limitations inherent in the network going wide just based on the type of units that are out there right now?
Facebook was never engineered to be an ad network. That's why there's these crappy ads on the right-hand side that are, stacked with different little thumbnail images that, and hit the 140, almost, how many characters? I don't remember, but, or if who logged out of their Facebook page? Anybody? Bueller? So, gee, that must be really effective. So that,
I think
you take over.
I think we've had, you don't have to have a pretty ad to be an effective ad. Right? I mean, Yahoo Consumer Direct's platform for years pays out ROI left and right? And all it does is it matches people who bought at the shelf, finds them online through Yahoo's logged-in network, no matter where you are, mail or sports, finance, sports, and targets you the same ad. They don't expect a click. They say after X number of impressions, you eventually go to shelf and you buy. And the reason that product works so well is you're actually getting the right people. Like, it's a marketing solve. It's not a creative solve. Take Google's pay-per-click. It's not exactly a lot of real estate. I mean, they keep adding new pieces into it, but now it's tied to intent. So I think the closer you get to understanding who it is you're actually going after, the better off you are. I think that's the hope and the promise that Facebook argues that they have. They have all this data about the hope, the promise, the intent, the wants, the needs. If you could match it up in the right context. The problem, I think, oftentimes has been the context piece. That it's the wrong ad at the absolutely wrong time.
Yeah, and to that point, I think the interesting thing you start to see next year is matching that context. Marketers had a hard time doing 2 posts a week, and it's all this stuff about how many number of posts is the right number of posts. These are my favorite white papers in the entire world. I read them on weekends.
We answered that question.
I know. No. But I think the challenge, if you look towards managing that type of content in the wants and needs and life cycles and segments, you might be running 40 or 50 different types of posts or content, and you're not optimizing one, but you're optimizing 40 or 50 or 60 messages, which changes the kind of how you operationalize that at scale. But that's where I end up seeing a larger opportunity for successful marketing, moving past the 1 or 2s and the kind of engaging 1 or 2 posts to the how we're getting the right message to the right segment at the right time.
Yeah, and I apologize if it's a bit of a thumb sucker. I'm not an insider. I'm a journalist who covers this stuff in and out. I'm not nearly the expert that Catherine is. But you guys are throwing a lot of stuff out there, kind of flippantly talking about how they pull this thing and introduce that thing, and like Reach Accelerator is dead. I didn't know that. So here's my question. If they keep changing what your organic reach is, right, and they keep changing the mechanisms, how do you know what you're reaching at any point in time when you either create a page or when you're advertising a page? What do you know what you're getting?
Haven't we been asking that of brand believers who think that TV works for the last 35 years? Who are you actually reaching? What are they flipping the channel? Are they actually paying attention on the? I mean, to me, it's analogous.
You agree on the ratings post of Nielsen data, whether it's accurate or not. It's an industry standard that everybody trades on.
I think the way I would look at it, like I said, though, everyone trades on it because it has the legacy. And then if you said really well with the comma or the semicolon that you added there, which is whether we believe it or not. It's the only data point we have, right? So you have brands flocking to Pinterest, absent of analytics.
But the thing that makes TV work is that it's a common currency. And if it keeps changing, it's no longer a common currency.
I think that's why TV hasn't worked the way that it's designed to work for so many years, and why brands will say, I have an ROI model that predicts this many impressions. It's somehow the stock price of the sales.
So let's talk about Facebook, though. So you just thrown it out there, and you're doing it based on actual results. You have no idea what you're reaching, but you see what your returns are.
Well, I think good brands do. I mean, I think we have a really good handle on it, right? You build around it. You work with a platform like PageLever that gives you deeper insights into, Facebook's data that's there. You don't look at things that are generic, like people talking about this, which means absolutely nothing as a metric. You match it up. You look at it and say, this post reached this many people, which, and you tag it appropriately to this many sales. I mean, that's why I said to you earlier on, I mean, the 1% of your audience or your organization that fundamentally gets it, that's the gold mine people, right? The problem is the other 99% don't. So when that one person, unfortunately, is there, and you can't scale that person, it does become a problem. It's less about, I think, for me, trusting the data as a marketer, and more about how do I build around that data. There's no one data set to answer. That's why it's like, for me, the Nielsen box numbers are one data set in a macro world. But to basically say that one data set moves everything, I think that's weird. No one data set moves anything. It's multiple data sets. And I think that's why you're seeing the IBMs and every other company offer their big data solution, right?
Okay, yeah. I'm going to let Don go, and then we might have to wrap this up. But keep going.
The only thing I would add is that you're a very sophisticated buyer and brand manager. A lot of the agencies we deal with don't have that level of sophistication. They are asking the question about how to measure this, and it's a moving target. I don't think the final word, we're nowhere near at the point where there's a final word on how you actually measure the effectiveness. There's a broad migration towards greater attribution. Facebook's certainly playing in that with its view tag capabilities and a number of other products that it's rolling out there. And I think ultimately those sophisticated brands do get to this stage of actually looking for a holistic perspective on what's working from a marketing perspective and not trying to always drill that down to a single metric like a click, for example.
So, okay, if we don't have any questions, please give everybody a round of applause. I didn't ask if any of them have Facebook stock. I forgot that question. So it's lunchtime. If you have a ticket in your, I don't know the details as I should, but if you have a ticket in your name tag, you probably have a lunch pass to something. If not, our content in the afternoon starts in about an hour. Thanks.
An hour, right? You what? Oh, you got the video.
I figured out. So I logged, I was looking at the video and signed up. That's the because I know, but I'm assuming.
We can waste money. Really lead by example here. Yeah.